I was 67 years old, Edmund Walsh, and I thought I was dying of old age. I was wrong. I was being murdered by the two people I trusted most. My son, Vincent, and his wife, Celeste. They'd been slowly poisoning me for 18 months, all to collect a $4.2 million life insurance payout. I was a chess piece about to be checkmated, but I was about to discover I could still move like a king. This story has more deadly twists than a hospital heart monitor, and before we're done, you'll understand why family can be the most dangerous word in the English language. Hannah Brooks, a 24-year-old waitress at the Blue Ridge Diner, had just saved my life. She did it with a small plastic bag containing my own hair and a toxicology report showing lethal levels of arsenic. But the real shock? She wasn't just any waitress. She was my dead daughter Alice's best friend, and Alice had asked her to watch over me before cancer took her life 3 years ago. Except, Alice didn't die of cancer. If you've ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they were slowly destroying you, then hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the people trying to kill you are sitting at your own dinner table, and the person who saves you comes from the most unexpected place. This is a story about poison, betrayal, and the moment an old man decided to fight back. And it starts with a question. How long can you pretend to be dying while you're planning someone else's destruction? 3 months ago, I truly believed I was dying of old age. Edmund Walsh, 67, former owner of Walsh Construction, a widower for 3 years since my beloved Martha passed. My son Vincent and his wife Celeste had been so attentive, so caring. Every morning, Celeste would brew my special herbal tea. "It's good for your circulation, Dad," she'd say with that sweet smile. Vincent would drive me to doctor appointments, hold my arm when I felt dizzy. But something was wrong. The metallic taste in my mouth that wouldn't go away. The trembling hands that made signing checks difficult. Dr. Mitchell kept running tests, shaking his head. "Your blood pressure is concerning, Edmund. 180 over 120. We need to monitor this closely." I'd built Walsh Construction from nothing, employed 47 people for 30 years. These hands had laid foundations, framed houses, created homes for hundreds of families. Now I could barely hold a coffee cup steady. "Dad, you need to take it easy," Vincent would say, his voice so gentle, so concerned. "Maybe it's time to think about arrangements, estate planning, you know." Celeste would nod, smoothing my blanket. "We just want what's best for you. You've worked so hard your whole life." They were right. Of course I was getting old. My daughter Alice had died of cancer 3 years ago. Such a rapid decline, the doctor had said. Sometimes these things just happen fast in families. Now it was my turn. Apparently, that evening at the Blue Ridge Diner, I'd gone alone. Vincent and Celeste thought I was too weak to drive, but I needed to feel independent just once. Hannah, the young waitress with kind eyes, had served me quietly all through dinner. As I stood to leave, fishing for my car keys with shaking hands, she moved to the door. Click! The deadbolt turned. "Mr. Walsh," she said softly, "I need to show you something, but promise me, you won't pass out." From her apron, she pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside was a clump of gray hair. My hair, I realized, recognizing the thinning pattern I saw in the mirror each morning. "I've been collecting this from your coat collar for weeks," Hannah said. "I had it tested." She handed me a folded paper. The letterhead read, "Independent Toxicology Laboratory." My eyes scanned the numbers, the medical terminology, until one word jumped out at me. Arsenic. And there was a recording device in her other hand. "Hannah, I don't understand. How do you even know my name?" The diner felt smaller suddenly, the fluorescent lights too bright. She sat across from me, her young face serious. "I was Alice's best friend in high school. We kept in touch until she got sick. Alice, my bright, beautiful daughter who'd moved to Portland for her marketing job, who'd called every Sunday until those final months when the cancer took her voice, then her strength, then everything. She asked me to keep an eye on the family," Hannah continued. "Said she was worried about Vincent, about money problems." Money problems? Vincent worked in sales for a medical supply company, made decent money. Celeste had her pharmacy job, they drove nice cars, took vacations. What money problems? "Mr. Walsh, Your hair shows chronic arsenic exposure over 18 months. That's not accidental. That's deliberate. My mind reeled. 18 months? That would be right after Alice died. Right when Vincent and Celeste moved in to help take care of me. The symptoms I'd been having, the metallic taste, tremors, confusion, high blood pressure, they weren't age, they were poison. I stared at the lab report. The numbers meant nothing to me, but the conclusion was clear. Levels consistent with deliberate chronic exposure. Who would? But I knew. Of course I knew. Only 2 people had regular access to my food, my drinks. There's more, Hannah said gently. I work at the diner 3 nights a week, but my day job is at Morrison's Pharmacy, same chain where Celeste works. She pulled out her phone, showed me a screen capture. These are controlled substance logs. She's been signing out small amounts of various compounds, always staying just under reporting thresholds. Celeste, sweet Celeste, who made my tea every morning, who insisted on preparing my meals, who seemed so knowledgeable about my medications. Vincent comes in sometimes to pick up your prescriptions. Last month, he asked a lot of questions about drug interactions, wanted to know what would enhance the effects of blood pressure medications. My chest tightened, not from the poison, but from the betrayal cutting deeper than any toxin. Hannah, why are you helping me? Tears formed in her eyes. Because Alice made me promise. She said if anything ever happened to her, if the family seemed wrong, I should watch out for you. She wiped her cheek. And because the last thing she told me was that Vincent had been asking about her life insurance policy. A lot. Life insurance. Alice had a small policy through her work. Maybe $50,000. Hardly worth killing for. Mr. Walsh, I need to ask you something. Have Vincent or Celeste ever mentioned life insurance for you? I shook my head. I've got a small policy. Maybe $200,000 through the union from my construction days, but nothing recent. Hannah's expression darkened. I think you need to check your mail more carefully. She handed me another document. This one made my blood freeze. It was a life insurance application. My signature at the bottom, except I'd never signed it. The amount, $4.2 million. The beneficiary, Vincent Walsh. The date, 14 months ago. I found this in your mailbox last week when I drove by. It was sticking out like someone had hurried to stuff it back. $4.2 million. More money than Vincent had ever seen in his lifetime. More money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. They've been paying premiums from Vincent's account, Hannah continued, showing me bank statement photos on her phone. $860 a month. That's a lot of money for someone who keeps asking you about selling the construction company. The company, Walsh Construction, was worth maybe $1.8 million if sold today. The house was paid off, worth another $900,000. My total estate, including investments, was around $3 million. But $4.2 million in life insurance, that was pure profit. We need to go to the police, I said, my voice barely a whisper. No, Hannah said firmly. Not yet. They're too smart. They'll deny everything, say you're confused, that the lab report is a mistake. We need proof, Mr. Walsh. We need them to confess. Over the next few days, Hannah and I worked on a plan. She gave me a tiny, high-quality recording device. Wear this when you talk to them. Try to get them to explain everything. The more details, the better. I was terrified, but a cold fury had settled in my gut. They had poisoned me. They had stolen from me, and they had murdered my daughter. I would not let them get away with it. I called Vincent and Celeste, my voice weak and trembling. I need to talk to you both. I've been feeling very confused lately, and I found some strange papers in my mail. I think I need help understanding my finances. They were at my house within an hour, their faces a mask of concern. Of course, Dad, Vincent said, patting my shoulder. Whatever you need. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where they'd served me poison for months. I pressed the tiny button on the recorder hidden in my shirt pocket. I found this life insurance application, I said, pushing the document across the table. It has my signature, but I don't remember signing it, and it's for a lot of money. Vincent picked it up, his eyes scanning the page. Celeste watched me, her expression unreadable. Dad, you've been so sick lately, Vincent began, his voice taking on that manipulative tone I'd learned to recognize. We just wanted to make sure you were taken care of. We handled the paperwork for you, to save you the trouble. And the arsenic? I asked, my voice flat. Their eyes widened. The masks fell away. What are you talking about, Dad? Celeste said, her voice sharp. My hair was tested. It shows chronic arsenic poisoning. For 18 months. A beat of silence. Then Vincent slammed his fist on the table. That damn Alice? She always was too nosy. Celeste's face was pale. It was for your own good, Edmund. Your quality of life was deteriorating. The arsenic just eased the transition. Ease the transition, I repeated, my voice level, as if murder was a medical procedure. And Alice? Was her transition necessary too? They exchanged glances. Vincent's jaw tightened. Alice was going to destroy this family, he said finally. She was obsessed with my gambling, with your finances. She threatened to go to the police. So you killed her, I stated, not a question. We gave her peace, Celeste said softly, just like we were trying to give you. The casual way she described murdering my daughter nearly broke my composure. But I needed them to keep talking, to confess everything on record. Help me understand the timeline, I said. When did this start? Vincent leaned back in his chair, seeming to relax now that he thought I was listening, maybe even sympathizing. About 2 years ago, I got in deep with some serious people. Casino debts, private poker games, the kind of people who don't accept bankruptcy as an excuse. How much? Started at $200,000, but with interest penalties, he shrugged. $800,000 by the time we decided to act. And your solution was to kill your family? Our solution was to access an inheritance that would benefit everyone, Celeste corrected. You were going to die eventually anyway. We just made sure it happened on a timeline that could save Vincent's life. The recording device was getting every word, but I needed more specifics. Walk me through it. How did you plan this? Vincent actually smiled, proud of his thoroughness. Celeste had access to the compounds through the pharmacy. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger reporting requirements. We researched your medical history, figured out how to make the symptoms look like natural aging. The life insurance policies, necessary funding for the plan. We knew we'd need clean money, untraceable funds to pay off the debts, and start fresh. And when Alice started asking questions, Vincent's expression darkened. Alice always was too smart for her own good. She started investigating my finances after I asked her for a loan. Found out about the gambling, started digging deeper. She threatened to tell me, Celeste snapped, her composure finally cracking. She threatened to ruin everything. Do you know what Carlo's people do to families who can't pay? They don't just hurt Vincent. They hurt everyone he loves. So you hurt everyone I loved first, I said, my voice thick with disgust. We protected this family. Vincent slammed his hand on the table. Everything we did was to keep us all safe. There it was. The full confession. The complete justification for murdering 2 members of their own family. But they weren't done. Dad, here's what's going to happen, Vincent continued, his voice taking on a threatening edge. You're going to call Detective Morrison and tell her you made a mistake, that you were confused, probably had a minor stroke, and imagined the whole thing. And if I don't? Celeste reached into her purse and pulled out a small vial of clear liquid. Then we finish what we started tonight, right here, even with police surveillance outside. Tragic accident, Vincent said calmly. Elderly man confused from his recent fall accidentally takes too much of his heart medication. Very sad, very believable. I stared at the vial in Celeste's hand. That's not arsenic. No, this is much faster. Potassium chloride. Looks like a heart attack. Virtually undetectable unless they know exactly what to test for. You're threatening to murder me in my own kitchen. We're offering you a choice, Vincent corrected. Call off the police and you can live out your remaining years in peace. We'll even stop the arsenic treatments. Or refuse. And this ends tonight. I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, whose diapers I'd changed, whose first steps I'd celebrated, the man who was now calmly explaining how he planned to murder me if I didn't cooperate with covering up his previous murder attempts. What about Hannah? She knows everything. Hannah Brooks will have a tragic accident of her own, Celeste said, matter-of-factly. Young woman working alone at night in a pharmacy. So many dangerous chemicals around. These things happen. They were going to kill Hannah too. This sweet girl who'd risked everything to save my life. You know what, son? I said quietly. I need to use the bathroom. Can you give me a few minutes to think about this? Of course, Dad. Take your time. I stood up slowly, playing the part of the frail old man they expected me to be. But as I walked toward the hallway, I pulled out my phone and pressed the panic button Hannah had programmed for me. It sent a direct signal to Detective Morrison. Come now. Emergency. When I returned to the kitchen 2 minutes later, Vincent and Celeste were still sitting at the table, confident they held all the cards. They were about to learn that the game had changed. I've made my decision, I announced. And then I heard the front door crash open. Police. Hands, where we can see them. Detective Morrison's voice cut through the kitchen like a blade, followed by the sound of boots on hardwood floors. Vincent and Celeste spun toward the doorway, Vincent's chair clattering backward as he stood. Dad, what did you do? Vincent's voice cracked with panic and rage. I chose life, I said. The arrests were swift. Vincent and Celeste were taken into custody, their faces a mixture of shock and fury. Detective Morrison approached me, her expression grim. Mr. Walsh, we heard everything. That recording is gold. You were incredibly brave. What about Alice? I asked, my voice trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. Can we prove they killed her? We'll be exhuming her body for a full toxicology report, Morrison confirmed. Based on their confession, I have no doubt we'll find the same chronic arsenic poisoning. They mentioned her life insurance. Did she have a policy? I nodded. A small one through her work. Maybe $50,000. That's what they told you, Morrison said, a strange look in her eyes. But we found something else in your safe deposit box, Mr. Walsh. A sealed letter from Alice, addressed to you, and a copy of a different life insurance policy. She handed me a thick envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter in Alice's familiar handwriting, dated a month before she died. Dear Dad, it began. If you're reading this, it means I was right. Vincent and Celeste are dangerous. I've been investigating them. Vincent's gambling debts are astronomical. And Celeste, she's far more twisted than we ever imagined. She's been systematically targeting vulnerable elderly patients at the pharmacy, slowly poisoning them, then collecting on their life insurance policies. She's a serial killer, Dad. I found evidence of at least 5 other cases. I took out a large life insurance policy on myself, $1 million, with you as the beneficiary. I made sure the policy would only pay out if my death was ruled suspicious. I knew if they killed me, they'd try to make it look like cancer, but the policy would trigger an investigation. I also hid a detailed journal of everything I found in a secure location, along with samples of compounds Celeste was ordering. Hannah knows where it is. I looked up at Detective Morrison, tears streaming down my face. Alice? She knew. She died trying to expose them. Morrison nodded. We've already secured Alice's journal, and the evidence she collected. It's damning. We're looking at multiple cold cases now, all elderly victims with life insurance. All died of apparent natural causes that are now looking very unnatural. The scope of Celeste's crimes was staggering. She hadn't just killed Alice and tried to kill me. She'd been systematically murdering vulnerable people for years, perfecting her methods, learning from each victim. Vincent knew about the other murders? I asked. We don't think so. Alice's notes suggest Celeste kept her previous activities secret from him. He was just the tool she used for your family. I thought about Vincent sitting in his jail cell, probably still thinking he was the mastermind, who'd recruited Celeste to help with his debts. The truth was so much worse. He'd been manipulated by a professional killer who saw our family as just another source of income. What does this mean for the sentencing? It means Celeste Walsh is facing multiple murder charges across several states. The death penalty is now on the table. That evening, I called Hannah to tell her about Alice's letter in the safety deposit box. She was protecting you even after she died, Hannah said quietly. She was protecting everyone. Alice uncovered a serial killer and made sure the evidence would survive even if she didn't. Do you think Vincent really didn't know about the other murders? I considered that. I think Vincent was exactly what Celeste needed him to be. Greedy, desperate, and stupid enough to believe he was in control. The chess pieces had shifted one final time. Celeste wasn't just a killer. She was a predator who'd been hunting vulnerable people for years, and Alice had died trying to stop her. 6 months later, I stood in the lobby of the Edmund and Alice Walsh Foundation for Elder Safety, watching Hannah arrange flowers in the reception area. The building had been Alice's idea in a way. Her letter had mentioned her dream of helping protect vulnerable seniors from financial abuse. Celeste received life without parole for multiple counts of first-degree murder across 4 states. Vincent was serving his 25-year sentence in a medium-security facility 3 hours away. I hadn't visited him, and I didn't plan to. The foundation had become my purpose. Using the money Vincent and Celeste had tried to steal, I'd created something that would protect other families from predators like them. We provided free legal services for elder abuse cases, toxicology testing for suspicious illnesses, and education about the warning signs of financial exploitation. Hannah had left her waitressing job to become the foundation's director. She'd discovered a talent for administration and a passion for justice that reminded me of Alice. "Mr. Walsh, the reporter from Channel 7 is here for the interview," she announced. The media attention had been intense, but useful. My story had encouraged dozens of other families to come forward with suspicions about their own situations. We'd uncovered 3 more potential poisoning cases and helped law enforcement investigate several financial scams targeting seniors. "Are you ready?" Hannah asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." The interview went well. I'd learned to tell the story without emotion, focusing on the facts rather than the betrayal. The reporter asked the standard questions about how I'd survived, what I'd learned, what advice I had for other seniors. "The most important thing," I concluded, "is to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. If you feel unusually sick or confused, get independent medical help. And remember that predators often come disguised as family members or caregivers." After the reporter left, Hannah and I walked through the foundation offices. Photographs of Alice lined the walls. Alice graduating college. Alice at family dinners. Alice volunteering at the animal shelter. The daughter who died trying to protect me now watched over our work protecting others. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd never gone to Blue Ridge Diner that night?" Hannah asked. I considered the question. I'd probably be dead. Vincent and Celeste would be $7 million richer, and Alice's murder would have gone unpunished forever. Sometimes I think about the butterfly effect, how one small action can change everything. I smiled, thinking about that frightened young woman who'd locked the diner door and shown me the truth that saved my life. "Speaking of unexpected places where angels appear," I said, "have you heard back from that young man who called about his grandfather's suspicious symptoms?" Hannah nodded toward her desk. "We're meeting with him tomorrow. Another family that needs help. Another chance to honor Alice's memory by protecting the innocent." The work continued.